LA the other day, yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want for running president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can.
And Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate?
Everyone knows Bill Maher tends to give Gavin Newsom some benefit of the doubt, but that hasn't kept him from calling out the California governor for the state's decline. Talk to any Democrat eyeing the 2028 race and Gavin's name shows up fast. But his record in California, Maher's own home turf, is a mess. It drives Maher up the wall. So he didn't hold back on someone he has often praised. If you want straight, unfiltered political commentary, make sure you're subscribed and let's jump in.
Law in this, I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about. And this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
So do you think that's silly? Do you think that's a silly thing that we too much government there?
That's an interesting one because the department stores came to us supporting that, and they were ones making a case for that. They were making a case they're already moving in that direction.
Wanted you to make a law about them?
Well, but they supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support from the industry itself.
Bill went straight for the core issue. Red tape in California. Under Gavin Newsom, the state has turned into a maze of regulations and slow-moving bureaucracy that makes it nearly impossible to get anything done. Maher isn't just irritated, he's angry. He thinks the constant paperwork and symbolic politics are suffocating the state. Look at last year's wildfire response. Slow, disorganized, and far from what residents needed. And now the weak response to the current ICE-related riots happening across California. Streets are chaotic and accountability feels non-existent. Newsom's first reaction was to show sympathy toward the rioters and challenge Trump instead of restoring order.
10 years. The fear, the horror. The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
But after the backlash piled up on social media and criticism came in from both Democrats and Republicans, Gavin Newsom shifted course. He issued a public apology trying to walk back his earlier stance and repair the damage. Then he changed his tone and warned that arrests were coming. For many people it didn't help. The delay only strengthened the idea that he reacts late and struggles to lead in real time. His sudden switch felt more like political survival than sincere responsibility, and plenty of people saw right through it.
Actually come out and apologize. If you want to go on Twitter, Rob, and just go to the apology video that he came out eventually. This is, I think, 4-5 days later. On day one, I asked him, I said, are you going to come out and do this? Watch how he's finally wanting to have his people be responsible. Go ahead, Rob.
If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account.
Okay.
That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested. And we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases. And people will be prosecuted.
So how is someone like this supposed to lead California, let alone the entire country? If he can't manage unrest in his own state, what happens in a national emergency? Picture a serious international threat. Would he fold under pressure, apologize again, and try to fix the fallout afterward? Leadership requires confidence, quick action, and the ability to make difficult decisions when it matters. Maher sees a repeated pattern. Poor leadership covered by polished messaging. To him, California's situation is a warning for the rest of the country. If this is the version of leadership the left wants to present nationwide, Maher wants no part of it. And honestly, it's no surprise some Democrats doubt he could win a national election.
Yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want to run the president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you.
Now this comes from a black voter who has likely supported Democrats most of his life. And I agree. Gavin Newsom wouldn't win. Not because he leans progressive, but because he doesn't show strong leadership. I'm not sure which would be worse, Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom. Sure, Newsom doesn't give us the long, confusing speeches Kamala gets criticized for, but his record in California speaks for itself. Economic mismanagement, homelessness, crime, and decisions that seem disconnected from the people he serves. America deserves someone with results, integrity, and more than good looks and well-delivered speeches. If this is the best the party can offer, they're in trouble. And many others are frustrated too, including Mel Gibson.
Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate?
Honestly, Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass should be embarrassed by how things have unfolded and should think about stepping down. Their time in office has been marked by rising costs, increased crime, housing shortages, and constant bureaucratic delays. The state has pushed people to leave in large numbers, choosing more affordable states with stronger stability. Look at Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro. Both moved out, pointing to California's taxes and poor leadership. They're not alone. Families, businesses, and middle-class workers are leaving too. When a state becomes unlivable for the people who built it, that isn't a minor problem. It's a full-scale crisis. If Newsom and Bass can't fix it, stepping aside may be the responsible thing to do. Another person who believes Newsom should resign is Bill O'Reilly.
It up. It doesn't seem to be an organic display of protest. That means that it doesn't have a constituency among regular people. The Los Angeles protesters were fueled by very militant far-left organizations that passed out masks and frozen water bottles and other forms of protection for the protesters. Same thing in New York. This is all organized by the far left, but the people aren't coming out. In fact, on Tuesday night at 9 o'clock in New York, everybody went home. In fact, I guess they were hungry. So this is kind of contrived, and the media hoped it would explode into something more so that Trump would look bad, but that doesn't seem to have been the case.
O'Reilly didn't say any names directly, but it's clear who he was talking about. Gavin Newsom. Think about it. Who hesitated to condemn the early protests. Who gave unclear, carefully worded statements instead of restoring order. Who appeared to lean toward the protesters while avoiding firm action. It's not far-fetched to imagine that Newsom or his supporters could be linked to the groups involved. There were reports of supplies like water bottles and masks being given out. That raises real questions. Who is paying for it? Who is organizing it? If any groups close to Newsom are involved, it's more than a bad look. It's a major breach of trust. Leaders should calm tension, not add fuel to it. If that's happening, the public deserves answers.
California Governor Newsom wanted these demonstrations to explode so he could use that as a political cudgel against Trump and elevate himself into a left-wing candidate for president in 28. And let me back that up. So when you have the police chief of Los Angeles in a press conference saying, we're outmanned, we can't control the violence, the fires on the cars, the throwing objects at our own police and ICE agents, we can't control it. And you don't have the governor immediately sending the National Guard down to help the LAPD, then you know the governor doesn't care or wants it to explode. And that's what I believe Newsom did.
O'Reilly makes a fair point. Gavin Newsom hasn't officially declared a 2028 run, but he hasn't been subtle either. He's been appearing on national platforms, doing interviews, and even launching a podcast aimed at reaching all sides politically. That's not accidental. It's preparation. But here's the concern. Is he willing to risk public safety just to appeal to the progressive wing? Policies that overlook crime and avoid responsibility may help him with certain groups, but they leave Californians vulnerable. Someone running for president should lead with integrity, not chase applause. If Newsom is willing to put political interest above safety, that raises real questions about whether he should hold higher office. O'Reilly's comparison between New York's response and Los Angeles's response shows the contrast clearly.
They didn't want it to explode, and it's easier to control it here because the city is so claustrophobic, and the cops know how to do this, and they did a good job. So they didn't give the miscreants a lot of room to set anything on fire or things like that, and you didn't need the federal pressure.
This is what strong leadership looks like. A leader who understands what the city needs and acts quickly before things get out of hand. The governor of New York, also a Democrat, handled the unrest by stepping in early. She used available resources, enforced order, and made it clear she wasn't going to allow chaos to spread. No hesitation, no mixed messages. She focused on protecting people and property. Compare that to Newsom. His reaction looked slow and overly concerned with the political impact. When leaders delay during critical moments, the fallout is real. Businesses get damaged, communities lose confidence, and people feel unsafe. That's the line between someone who governs and someone who campaigns.
Or the notion we just have to continue to talk to ourselves, or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make...
Surprisingly, Newsom recognized something honest here. The Democratic Party has become so divided and focused on internal conflicts that even longtime members are leaving. A recent example is former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who announced she was stepping away from the party. She didn't go into detail, but the message was clear. You don't walk away from a party you represented at the highest level unless things are breaking down behind the scenes. Whether it's deep disagreements, a growing disconnect from everyday voters, or a fixation on identity politics over real solutions, the cracks are showing. Newsom might pretend things are fine, but he knows what's happening inside the party. When insiders start walking out, that's not a small signal. That's a loud warning. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching and see you next time.